So that Bible,
Mm-hmm.
that's that first book to read for
Yes.
personal development. You want a personal
Yes.
development book,
Yes.
read that Bible, spend time with the
Yeah.
Father, because Jesus gave us the greatest example of how to live. He also gave us the greatest example of self-care. He would often steal away and go and have quiet time with the Father alone. That's what he would do. He would spend time with the
Yeah.
crowds. He would do the teaching. He would perform the miracles. But when it came time for him to receive, he went to the Father. And that's what we ought to do. You're listening to the Experience Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Ajene Gaylord, and I endeavor to educate, encourage, and empower women to embrace emotional healing and eradicate the stigma of mental health in the body of Christ. On this episode, we continue our conversation with Erica Lee, and she's going to give us some practical tips for self-care. So stay tuned. Thank you again for being with us, Erica. And I wanted to ask you to begin to give us some of those steps to self-care, because we kind of got into your story, your journey about kind of how you even enter into the self-care in this season of your life. But what are some things that you did, or what are the practical steps that we could share to help others be able to even begin that process for themselves? What if they can't go to counseling right now? Like you said, you had multiple people who said they weren't taking any new patients, so you couldn't actually get to somebody right away. So until you can see a counselor, or if you can't get to anyone, what are some steps to proper self-care that people can begin to engage in and work on so that they can take care of themselves?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So no, definitely, I would say go grab some books that deal with that deal with your situation. I mean, I am an advocate of the "What Happened to You" book, but you haven't read it yet. But
I haven't read it yet. I've heard about it. Someone asked me just this past weekend, had I read it yet? So you're the third or fourth person who's come to me and said, "Hey, have you read it yet?" So I got to get it. I haven't read it yet, but tell us your experience. Share with us some of the books that you are reading or going to, like, give us your info.
Yes. Well, if you are a person of faith, most definitely read the Bible. I stress that to people, to read it for yourself, because when you're reading it, he gives you things specific to you. It's very intimate. You know, as I read it, I feel like I'm sitting there with him. He's talking to me. Like, it could be stories I've already read, you heard in church a million times, but he just give you a different spin on it when you read it for yourself. But I said, if you want to know the Father, you need to know the story. You need to know the whole story. So my first goal was to read the Bible from front to back, so I can know the whole story.
Yeah.
And so I like in Luke, I think Luke chapter 10, Jesus was saying, how do you read the scriptures? So I asked people, like, how do you read it? Like, we could be reading the same thing, but this is what I got out of it. This is what you got out of it. Or I'm reading it because I just want to know the story, and you reading it because you want to know, I don't know, you're trying to memorize verses. I don't know. Like, what is your motivation behind reading the Bible? I know some people just pick it up and flip the pages, and wherever it stops, that's what they read.
I do that.
No problem.
I do that.
Yeah. No problem. You never know what you end up on. And like I say, he speaks to you at any page, in any story, you know. But I just think it's very important to get that whole story. Like, a lot of people some people just stay in the New Testament. No, that Old Testament is so important, because that was the building block for the New Testament. So knowing all those stories, knowing that history, it makes it really come to life. Like, it's the greatest story ever told. Like, I got movies that I like. That's my favorite. Like, me and my husband love Marvel. We watch all the movies. We know the Marvel universe, all that stuff work together, and the storylines. Man, the Bible is way better than the Marvel universe.
Better.
Man, you talk about drama. It is drama in there. It's some stories in there. So I just say, read it from a story standpoint first, and just get the story.
Yeah.
You know, but knowing who he is helps, because then when you get to know who you are, and then you get to know the relationships and people, it just makes it easier. Because, like, when you mentioned the scripture about love the Lord your God with all your heart, and then love your neighbor as you love yourself, it's three things. It's loving the Lord, it's loving yourself, and loving your neighbor. Well, you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. Right. And you can't love yourself if you don't love the Lord. the reason why we love the Lord is because he loved us first.
Yes.
Now, when you read the Bible, you see how much he loves you. You see how many chances he gives us when we mess up. You can look at other people's story and then you go and the other people in the Bible, you look at their story. But if you're real with yourself, you can find yourself in those stories. When I read about the children of Israel, and I'd be like, man, they crazy. They did this, that. Then I realized, oh, snap, wait a minute.
I'm doing the same thing.
I'm doing stuff too. Yeah. I do the same thing. I'm like, uh-oh. So I can't say them no more. I got to say me. I got to say us.
Right.
So he talked to them. He said, you are a stubborn people. I can be stubborn at times, right? Jacob, he wrestled with God. I wrestle with God sometimes, right? So I was reading the other day about, it said Herod, when it talked about how Herod killed John the Baptist. But before that, it was saying that Herod, he respected John the Baptist. It said he would go and he would like to listen to him speak, even though he'd be greatly disturbed by what he said. He still wanted to hear him speak. So it's like that wrestle. It's like you want to know the truth, but then the truth kind of hurt a little bit or shake you up. So then you'd be like, but then you keep listening. You know what I'm saying? So it's that wrestle, So we wrestle with God. But yeah, so you learn about God. In learning about God, you learn how much he loves you. So in receiving that love for him, then you extend that love to yourself. And you look at how you mess up, and he give you a chance, you mess up, he give you a chance. So now when you love another person and they mess up, you give them a chance. You say, hey, you know what? I mess up too.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm not perfect, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So it makes it much easier to relate to people, to have patience with people, to be gentle with people. Because it's like, I don't want to be talked to like this, so I'm not going to talk to you like that.
Right.
If I was in this situation, I would want somebody to deal with me like this. So that's the way I'm going to deal with you.
Right.
So yes, if you can't get to a counselor, you read the Bible first. And then to make the Bible hit home even more, then you go and you read some self-help personal development books. So I greatly recommend What Happened to You. Then after that is this great book I read called The Slight Edge. And I told my daughter Zoe, I had her read it. I was like, just call it, that's just the mustard seed faith. What Jesus said, you
exactly.
have faith the size of mustard seed. So Slight Edge, that book is telling you about starting tiny. You just start with something small and you build from there. And you'd be surprised what you end up with. And so
how things compound. How things compound over time.
Yes. Yes. He was talking about a story about a man. He offered his one son. He had two sons. He offered them, one could get $1 million and then that's it. Or you can get a penny and every day, compound interest. And I think it was that long, like 30 days, 6 days. I don't know. But the one son right away, give me $1 million. And then the other son was like, no, give me the one with the penny. And at the end, he had millions.
He had more.
Yeah. But you think starting with a penny, I don't want that. But no, over time, you keep building on that. So anyway, that's why I like the Slight Edge, because it helps you with consistency and building up. And and then How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's by Dale Carnegie. My husband had that book for a long time, and I was like, I don't like the title of that. That sounds thirsty or manipulative. I was like, I wouldn't even read. I was like, ugh. Then I was in, like I said, the entrepreneurship group. They started a book club and they read it. So I was like, let me see what this is about. And it's actually really, really good. And it's teaching you just how to talk to people and like teaching you how not to be so critical. I was talking about Abraham Lincoln and said he used to be so critical of people. He would post stuff in the newspaper and just put people on blast about things that they did, criticizing them. And one person got so mad, challenged them to a duel. They was going to fight to the death. And the wives had to step in and stop it at the last minute. But that taught Abraham Lincoln about being careful with his words and how he's critical and judgmental with people. And after that, he got the nickname Honest Abe and just great person. But it's like that came at a great cost. So it's just like it's all these stories about how you think before you interact with people and how you treat them and don't be critical, blah, blah, blah. So I like that one. That helps me and how I talk to my husband. It helps me and how I talk to my children.
Right.
So so I figured so I said, that's my book for relationships. I got the book for personal development. And then I'm reading We Should All Be Millionaires. And so I'm trying to get my resources together.
Resources. Get my mindset. That's right.
Yeah. So I want the holistic. I want the holistic. I want the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned, reading the Bible, reading other books. Are there other things that are practical that you would advise our audience to engage in to help with their self-care?
Yes, journaling
Mm.
to express your feelings, like, how you feel and why you feel that way. And then I have another journal for like brain dump. Like I have all these ideas, stuff I want to do. So I just drop that down, and then I go. And so first I was just writing them down just to get it out of my head. And it was good. That helped. But then I had realized, you need to go back and read this. And then I can go back, read it and add to it and just keep building on it. And that has been awesome. So yes, definitely get you a journal to brain dump. And then for your ideals and aspirations, and then you get your journal, this how you feel,
To
and a
process.
calendar.
Yeah, to process your feelings and thoughts, and yeah.
Yes. And then get a calendar so you can keep track of what you're doing and when you're doing it. I didn't realize that's so important, because you need to, and then my counselor, me, she had to keep reminding me. She was like, make sure you put yourself in your calendar. Right? Because on my calendar, that's all my stuff I do with relationships. Oh, date night with the husband. Oh, kids camp, kids here, blah, blah, blah. Hang out with, go to this event, that event. So it's all people related. She's like, no, put your stuff in there. So,
what's on your calendar?
For my self-care?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So like I like to block out the first 2 hours of the day. Is I like to do my devotion time, and then the next 2 hours is me to do my personal development that I like. So like I like to read my books, and go over my journals, and then I like online now that with COVID, all these churches online, so I'm watching all these sermons I get to watch. So so that's in my schedule. I love listening to music, so I got Apple Music, so I go on there and I listen to live gospel albums. That was like recorded albums, but I liked it when it was live. They recorded live. They wasn't in the studio. It just gave a whole nother level. So I got time to listen to my music. But yeah, the things that you enjoy. I like that. I took myself out on a date for my birthday. So
where'd you go?
That was nice. I went to what's it called? First Watch. It was a breakfast spot in Royal Oak over there by Beaumont. Yeah, so I went there, and then I went to the DIA because I take my kids, but they got different attention spans, so I wanted to go and be able to explore at my own pace. I found stuff in the museum I didn't even know was there. I didn't know they had a third floor. I didn't know it was all kinds of stuff. So it was great. And then I went to the Riverwalk and just sat and chilled, and so that was nice. I was like, I'll start taking myself out more. That was fun. And then have a friend that you can feel comfortable with to just go beyond the surface and really talk about what's in your mind, what's in your heart. Just be able to be vulnerable with, and just have like a regular conversation. So I have a friend that we talk once a week, and we got it on our calendar. We talk, like I have my counselor session at 4:00, and then me and her talk at 6:00. And we'll talk about what was going on in my session, and then we set our personal development goals, and we kind of keep up with each other. How you doing with that? We checking in on each other. So what you call that? Accountability partner. Get you an accountability partner.
Yeah,
that's free. And y'all help each other. Yeah, you pour into each other. You help each other.
Sharpening each other.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. I'm bossing mouth, so let me know. So, pin me down one topic, because I'll be all over the place. Pin me down.
That's cool. Think of something that's really passionate that you want to share, and we can go from there. Like, especially when it comes to the development, personal development, like definitely give us some nuggets, teach us something, give us some info, like whatever you want to do is cool.
Yes, but listen, you let me talk to you about who you are, and then your journey, so the audience know you, and then now when you bring people on, it just expanded it. But it got to start with you, right? To let the audience get some of your story.
Yeah. I share
what's on your self-care? What's on your self-care calendar?
What's on my self-care calendar? So, like, I have obviously spiritual disciplines as a believer, all those wonderful things. So prayer and devotion and all of that. But for like personally, like for just Ajene, the number one thing that I do is I take a quarterly getaway. So this started several years ago. My husband and I had been in real estate together for a really long time. And I started having heart palpitations. I was in my 30s. I was having other health issues too, but this was like a new symptom. And I'm like, why is my heart racing? What's going on? And I had all this stress and anxiety. The kids were little. I was homeschooling them. We were doing all of these renovations. We were living 45 minutes away from the city where most of our properties were. And it was just a lot of stress. I was working on a website. I was working on our accounting. Like all this stuff was going on. I was feeling totally overwhelmed. And our accountant, she was like, well, you got to work on these projects. It's a lot at home. You got these kids here. Why don't you go to a hotel for the weekend and just spend the weekend and just work on this in isolation? And I was like, oh, okay. So I talked to my husband. He was like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I went away for the weekend, just by myself. And I think my oldest might have been maybe 9 or 10 at the time. And all my kids are, stair steps. So the oldest and the youngest are 4 years apart. So I had 4 kids in 5 years. So they're very close in age. Wow. So I got all these little kids at home. So my husband had to agree that he would, watch them and all that. So I go away for the weekend and I go to this hotel. I do this work and I start feeling pretty okay. I was relaxed. Even though I was working, I was like, I can kind of breathe a little bit. I ate alone. I was like, this feels kind of good. So maybe 6 months went by and I was getting tense again. And I just remember like, man, I should probably go away. And I was like, well, babe, do you think I can probably go away again? So it kind of started like that. And I began to like take these sporadic getaways to go to a hotel by myself. Well, what was interesting, talk about know yourself and your identity. I didn't realize that I was an extroverted introvert. So I can be very social, I can connect, I can be in a crowd, but then I need time alone to recharge. So unlike my husband, who's a full-blown extrovert, he gets energized by being around other people. He wants to party all the time. He wants to engage, all that. I get drained. Even though I enjoy it, I get drained by it. And then I need to be alone in order to recoup. Well, I had been home with my children all those years. I had not been alone in a very, very, very long time. And I didn't realize how much it had impacted my health and even my mental health. And so that kind of sparked it. So I was like taking them twice a year. Then it became a little more frequent. Now it's a ritual where I go once a quarter, like clockwork. Once a quarter, I go away for a weekend. The most I've ever gone is like up to 5 days and to a hotel, usually by myself. And that's when I get to really decompress, recharge, rest, sleep, pray, cry, journal, all the things. So that's like a practice that I've been doing. What I'm learning now, though, is to be more consistent with that type of care in between the getaways. So I'm good about my quarterly getaways. What I'm not good with is doing that regular care because I carry so much and I wear so many different hats. So figuring out like management of my schedule. I'm a regimented person and yet I still struggle with moving in and out of my different responsibilities. So if I'm writing a research paper and then I have to go do bookkeeping for the business and then I have to do lesson plans for homeschool, like it's a lot to move from different types of work. So I've had to learn different strategies and use different, tools, like even apps and other kind of, digital formats to help me kind of manage all of that. One thing is, of course, my health is paramount. So because I've struggled with chronic illness, I've had to be very on top of my nutrition, drinking my water, exercising when and how I can, that type of thing. So caring for my physical body just so I can live and be well is very much a part of my self-care regimen. And I like to veg out on TV when I'm done with my work and I'm finished with all the mental, everything I have to do and think about and process. I like to veg out on TV, relax. I like movies. I like, fresh air. You guys can't see, but Erica and I are recording. And in my background, I have the beach with waves and a pine tree with the wind blowing. Like that's my happy place. So I try to get out where I can and feel the breeze and the wind and nature when it's warm. I love that. So those type of things. I do take the baths. I do get the massages. I do light the candles. I do all of that too. But really what I do most is I manage my emotions. Like that's key for me, is to really be aware of what I'm feeling, to be aware of my beliefs, to be aware of my thinking, and really make sure I'm managing that. So I'm a journaler too. I love to process through journaling and writing things down. And even this morning I was processing some things about my spiritual gifts and how God created me and the weight and heaviness that I often feel. So I was just spending some time doing that. I'm a worshiper and I sing. So I love to sing. I love to sing really, really loud. Yes. So I really get into that. So I enjoy that. So it's a lot of different things. And in different seasons of my life, I've learned there may be different ways that I approach the practical application of self-care. Like there are things that are just going to be standard, like maintaining my relationship with Christ and my intimacy with him, maintaining those quarterly getaways. But then in different seasons of my life, it may look a little bit different depending on what my needs are. Because as I age, as my children age, as we go through different phases, I just graduated my first child from homeschool. So now I have a graduate and then I have 3 children left to still home educate. They're all high schoolers. Like it's just different now. They're more independent. So when they were younger, it was putting them to bed early. Now, because I don't have to put them to bed, it's different. That means date night with me and my husband, or my quiet time, or my peace. Like when you said you wake up and spend 2 hours in your devotion time and then 2 hours on your personal development, I heard the audience say, I don't have no 4 hours in the morning. I got things to do. So for me, I'm like that. I'm one of those people. Like I don't have a big chunk of time, but when I do engage, I spend it on quality versus quantity. I may not have 4 hours, but I may have 30 minutes or 15 minutes of something that I enjoy, listening to something that really ignites me and encourages me and engaging in something that's going to give me what I need versus feeling like I have to spend a lot of time doing something. So yeah, girl, it's been like in the season when I first went back to school, I used to have to drive to campus. This was pre-COVID, right? We were in person somewhere, right? That 15 minutes to campus was my refreshing time just to kind of switch gears and get on campus and I enjoyed it, listening to a podcast or listening to music, like you said, or doing something like that. So I engage in a lot of different things, but it depends on the season. So when I was really dealing with health challenges, my focus was just being able to be well enough. And I had to manage my stress through deep breathing. Girl, I done learned a whole system of breathing. And that really helps to deal with the nervous system. I'm learning so many new techniques about our fight, flight, fear response, our stress response system, the vagus nerve. I'm learning so many things, which we'll talk more about on the show. But all these different components.
I'm like, you guys,
about our physical bodies and how we can engage our physical bodies to even practice that self-care. So massages are great, but there's other things that we can do, like just the breath that we take in a strategic way can help to calm the nervous system, that can help to get the amygdala,
I learned that one.
To not be alerted, to deal with the vagus nerve and just different things to help the body to respond. Because what we don't often do is recognize the signs that our body gives us that we need to take better care. Like our bodies let us know something's up here, something's going on. You're not managing your emotions well. You're not managing your spirit well. And so the body responds to those things. It has a reaction. So I'm learning to pay attention to those things. So girl, it's a whole journey and it doesn't end. Like it's ever evolving. Yeah. I'm always learning. I love to learn. That's why I'm back in school. I love to learn. I've always been an academic. I've always been, intellectual. So I love to learn. So the more I learn, the more I share with my children, my husband, my friends, my family, my community. So yeah, self-care is very vital, but I think we have the wrong understanding of what it is. We think it means to disconnect from who we are and somehow disengage, when actually it means to press in. But we can only do that if we really understand our identity. And we talked about that a little bit of on who we are. We are the image of God. And in order to reflect his image, we got to know him. So that Bible, that's that first book to read for personal development. You want a personal development book, read that Bible, spend time with the Father, because Jesus gave us the greatest example of how to live. He also gave us the greatest example of self-care. He would often steal away and go and have quiet time with the Father alone. That's what he would do. He would spend time with the crowds. He would do the teaching. He would perform the miracles. But when it came time for him to receive, he went to the Father. And that's what we ought to do. So that's our first line of defense. And then there are practical things that we can engage in that we do enjoy and we like. So my husband and I walk. We walk in the mornings. It's a good time for me and him to catch up and to get some fresh air, to get some exercise. So we like to walk around our neighborhood in the mornings and enjoy that. So it's a lot. I love to laugh. I love movies. I love to go out to eat. So there's a lot of stuff that I enjoy,
Yeah.
but really managing my relationship with God, managing my own emotions and relationships, and then those practical things help to just kind of put the icing on the cake, so to speak. So that's me, girl.
No, that was awesome. Like you said, you're an extroverted introvert. Is that how you said it?
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And I didn't know. I was extrovert all day long till I had kids. Then I realized, like, oh snap, I think I'm an introvert.
No. You thought you were an extrovert because remember you said you lived with your mom and you were single. So after you would engage and all the things, you would be able to go home and be alone. It wasn't until you had kids where you never got to be alone again, where you realized, wait a minute, what happened to that alone time I used to get? And then you realize, no, I actually am extrovert, introvert. Same thing for me. Went the exact same way. I didn't know that until much later in life. And that's a part of knowing self. Like in order to practice self-care, you got to know yourself. You got to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. First, how did God craft you? How did he make you? What is it? How did he design you? We all have gifts, talents, abilities, temperaments. Like we're all crafted in unique ways. So how do we reflect who he is in our own unique way? But then, what is it about us? What do we like? What do we enjoy? How are we made? What's our personality? All of those things we bring into, like, I have friends who, my husband would never do a solo getaway. That's not his personality at all. He doesn't need to go alone somewhere by himself for a weekend and get away. He will want me to go with him, but he's not about to do a solo getaway. But that's something that I need. So being able to care for self is to know thyself, right? So in order to know yourself and how you reflect God, but then also how do you show up in the world? What do you enjoy? What do you see? What do you like? What makes you tick? What makes you excited? What sets your soul on fire? Like, what are your interests? All of these things are important to being able to just identify self in order to be able to care. And I think that we've missed that in our society because we're such a productivity-based society. You got to be doing. It's not about being, it's about doing. But who are you as a being? Just who are you versus what do you do? Because when people say, I'm a wife and a mom, no, that's a relationship you have. But who are you?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, you're extroverted, introvert. You didn't even know it.
Yeah. I didn't even know. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I took this personality test, and I tell everybody take it.
Which one?
16personalities.com.
So what did you find out about yourself?
Yeah, they give you like 5 letters. I am ENFJT. So the E stand for extroverted, but I went and looked at their little thing to break it down. And so extroverted, it said people that are energized by social interaction. They're enthusiastic and easily excited. Yes. All day long, that's me. But then introverted, it said they prefer solitary activities and they get exhausted by social interaction. So I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm on 100 when I'm around people. Then I come home and I'm like,
Yep.
And I'm out. So, and then some stuff I'll be like, no, leave me alone. I want to do it by myself. Go, so.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely had that introvert, and then I definitely got that extrovert. But like you said, it took me to be married and have kids, and to have my solo time stripped for me to realize I actually like solo time.
I actually like that, yeah.
So yeah, but like you said, I didn't realize when I was living with my mom, I was like by myself because she had her own life and she let me have my own life. So I was getting it, but I wasn't conscious of that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of living. Like the longer you live, the more you learn. So even like the personality test you mentioned, there are tons of them. So many of them you can take.
Yeah.
As believers, we can take the spiritual gifts test so we can see what our motivational gifts are and our ministry gifts and all the manifestation gifts and all that kind of thing. And we can take the personality test. It just gives us language to help us to identify with something.
That's what I like.
It brings us it helps us articulate and to understand what we really already know about ourselves, but just may not have had language, or even to help our relationships, our spouses, our children, our neighbors, our friends, our coworkers, so that they can understand who we are, right? So that's a part of knowing yourself, understanding, having that identity, being able to clearly define who you are and what you are so that you can then be everything that God has called you and created you to be. So this is an exciting talk. So I'm excited that you joined me and gave us all of these wonderful nuggets. And we hope to have you back on the show soon. Wow, this was a powerful episode. I'm so glad Erica was able to join me. Please be sure to listen to both parts, part 1 and 2 of my conversation with Erica Lee around self-care. And for our life work, I will just ask that you find an accountability partner, a self-care partner, a friend, anyone that can go with you on this journey to help bring about some support, some accountability, and that you can also provide that for them. That's it for this episode. If you have been enjoying listening, please consider sharing and subscribing to the podcast. And until next time, remember, you have been set free to live free, so choose freedom.